Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever said something in anger that you later regretted, or made a decision out of fear, only to wish you had taken a calmer path? If so, you're not alone. Emotions are a vital part of the human experience. They guide us, connect us, and sometimes they control us. But here's the truth: if you don't control your emotions will control you. And when emotions take the wheel, logic, clarity, and peace often take the back seat. Think about it: how many times have people lost relationships, jobs, or even opportunities because of a single moment of emotional reaction? The power of emotions is undeniable, but the power to manage them, now that's life changing. When you control your emotions, you don't suppress them, you understand them. You pause, reflect, and then respond, not react. This kind of self-control isn't weakness, it's strength, it's mastery. Controlling your emotions means you stop being a slave to outside circumstances. You stop blaming others for how you feel, and instead you take full responsibility for your internal world. That's freedom, that's power. So whether you're facing conflict, chasing a dream, or simply trying to stay sane in a stressful world, remember this: control your emotions, and you control your focus. Control your focus, and you control your direction. Control your direction, and you control your destiny. Many people misunderstand what it means to control their emotions. They think it means becoming cold, emotionless, or detached from feelings altogether. But that's not emotional control, that's suppression. True emotional control is not about bottling up your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about recognizing what you're feeling, understanding where it comes from, and choosing how to respond in a healthy and productive way. Suppression is like pushing emotions into a closet and slamming the door shut. Eventually, that door bursts open, often in a way that's unpredictable and destructive. Emotions that are ignored or buried don't disappear. They grow in the dark. They fester, twist, and come out sideways through stress, anxiety, angry outbursts, or even physical illness. That's why suppression is dangerous. It's not a solution. It's a ticking time bomb. In contrast, self-awareness, the foundation of emotional control, invites us to face our emotions head on. It asks us to pause and ask questions. Why do I feel this way? Where did this reaction come from? Is this emotion serving me right now, or is it hurting me? This process of self-inquiry is not always easy, but it is essential. Without it, we stay at the mercy of our impulses. Self-awareness allows us to name our emotions rather than be ruled by them. There's power in naming. When you say, "I'm feeling anxious," or "I'm feeling frustrated," you are stepping into the role of observer rather than reactor. You are no longer drowning in the emotion, you are recognizing it as a passing wave. That shift, subtle as it seems, gives you back your power. Once we recognize an emotion, we can choose how to manage it. This is where self-regulation comes into play. Self-regulation doesn't mean pretending we're not upset. It means allowing ourselves to feel the emotion fully, but choosing a measured, wise, and intentional response. Instead of yelling when angry, we might take a walk, breathe deeply, and return to the conversation later. Instead of panicking when afraid, we might acknowledge the fear, ground ourselves in facts, and move forward one step at a time. This kind of control is not about being emotionally numb, it's about being emotionally intelligent. It requires practice, patience, and a deep commitment to personal growth. It's easier to explode in anger than to contain it. It's easier to shut down when hurt than to process the pain. But emotional control is not about what's easy. It's about what's effective. One of the most empowering truths is this: you are not your emotions. Emotions are a part of your experience, but they are not your identity. You feel anger, you are not anger itself. You experience sadness, but you are not sadness. This separation is crucial. It creates the mental space necessary to evaluate and regulate your inner world. It's also important to understand that emotions are not inherently bad. Anger can signal injustice. Fear can alert us to danger. Sadness can point us to something we care deeply about. But when these emotions go unchecked, they can distort our perception, cloud our judgment, and lead to regretful actions. Control doesn't mean silencing the message of emotions. It means interpreting them with clarity and responding with wisdom. Emotional control, when practiced consistently, becomes a strength others notice. People begin to trust you more, not because you never feel anything, but because you handle your emotions with maturity and grace. You become the person others turn to in crisis, the calm in the storm. You become a leader not necessarily in title, but in emotional presence. Children, teams, relationships all thrive around emotionally stable people. Why? Because emotional stability creates safety. When people know you won't lash out, shut down, or collapse under pressure, they feel more secure, and that security breeds connection, collaboration, and peace. This kind of emotional control also empowers decision-making. When you are no longer hijacked by every emotional spike, you can make choices aligned with your values rather than your moods. You can speak when necessary and stay silent when wise. You can take action when ready and wait when the timing isn't right. That is true freedom to act intentionally, not impulsively. At its core, emotional control is a form of self-respect. It says, I value myself enough to manage my inner world. It's a declaration that your peace matters, that your character matters, and that how you show up even in hard moments reflects the person you are committed to becoming. Emotions are powerful forces. When channeled wisely, they can inspire us to act with courage, empathy, and strength. But when we react emotionally without thinking, we often create damage, sometimes in ways that can't be undone. Emotional reactions, especially those rooted in anger, fear, jealousy, or insecurity, can unravel relationships, cloud our decision-making, and close doors to valuable opportunities. In relationships, emotional outbursts can leave deep scars. Words said in a moment of anger can echo long after the heat has cooled. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild, and sometimes it never fully returns. People may forgive a reaction, but they rarely forget how you made them feel in that moment. Reacting emotionally in relationships often leads to misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and distance that grows over time. For example, in a romantic relationship, reacting to your partner's mistake with rage or blame can create defensiveness instead of understanding. It shifts the focus from the problem to the emotional drama. Instead of solving the issue, it becomes a battle of egos. Over time, these unresolved emotional reactions can become patterns that drain love and connection from the relationship. Friendships and family relationships are no different. When we let our emotions dictate how we speak or act, especially during conflict, we often say things we don't mean. We accuse, we assume, we judge. These reactions are not based on calm reflection, but on momentary emotion. And sadly, some relationships do not survive repeated emotional damage. People walk away not because of one incident, but because of a pattern of reactive behavior. In professional settings, emotional reactions can be just as destructive, sometimes even more so. An emotional outburst in a meeting, a defensive email, or a passive-aggressive remark can damage your credibility. Once you are seen as someone who can't control themselves, it's difficult to rebuild professional trust. Emotional maturity is often the silent qualifier for leadership. Without it, your technical skills or intelligence won't be enough to carry you forward. Consider someone who gets passed over for a promotion because they are known to lose their temper when things don't go their way, or a talented employee who gets fired for lashing out at a colleague. These are not reflections of a lack of talent, they are consequences of unchecked emotion. Every workplace values people who can stay composed under pressure and handle disagreements with professionalism. Beyond relationships and careers, emotional reactions can also sabotage personal decisions. When you're emotional, your brain's ability to assess long-term consequences becomes impaired. You may quit a job impulsively, make a risky purchase, or send a text you later regret. Emotional decisions often lack perspective. They are driven by the need for immediate relief rather than long-term benefit. For instance, reacting to disappointment by giving up on a goal can kill momentum that took months to build. Reacting to jealousy by sabotaging someone else's success damages your integrity. Reacting to fear by shrinking from opportunity keeps you stuck. These reactions are not just momentary, they can alter the course of your life. And the worst part, most emotional reactions feel right in the moment. That's why they are so dangerous. Opportunities often require patience, diplomacy, and strategic thinking, none of which are easy when we're overwhelmed by emotion. A single inappropriate comment or angry confrontation can ruin a potential connection, contract, or collaboration. In this way, emotions don't just affect the present, they shape our future. That's why learning to pause before reacting is not just wise, it's essential. Pausing allows us to shift from reacting to responding. Reactions are automatic. Responses are intentional. The pause, even if it's just a few seconds, gives our brain time to catch up with our feelings. It's the moment we can ask, is this worth it? Is this the person I want to be? Will this move me closer to or further from my goals? That pause can save relationships, protect reputations, and open doors that might otherwise close. It's also worth noting that people are watching. How you react emotionally teaches others what to expect from you. Your children, friends, partners, co-workers, they observe your behavior and form impressions. If your reactions are often unpredictable or extreme, people may begin to walk on eggshells around you. This creates tension and weakens trust. But if you respond with calm and control, you earn respect, and that respect builds influence. In the end, emotional reactions are often just unprocessed feelings seeking an outlet. When we learn to feel the emotion without becoming the emotion, we gain power, power to preserve our relationships, power to make sound decisions, power to seize the right opportunities. That power begins the moment we realize that a single emotional reaction, even a brief one, can leave a lasting impact. Clear thinking and sound judgment are the cornerstones of effective decision-making. Yet, in the midst of intense emotions, both can become clouded. Emotional overwhelm, whether it's anger, anxiety, excitement, or fear, can hijack the mind, blurring logic and distorting perception. Mastery over emotions doesn't mean eliminating emotion from the process. It means ensuring emotions enhance rather than impair your thinking. When we are emotionally reactive, the part of the brain responsible for higher reasoning, the prefrontal cortex, takes a back seat. Instead, the amygdala, our brain's emotional center, takes over. This amygdala hijack leads to impulsive decisions that are based on survival instincts rather than thoughtful reflection. Mastery over emotions puts the control back in the hands of reason, allowing us to pause and evaluate the situation from multiple perspectives. Think about a time when you were angry and said something you didn't mean. In that moment, your emotional mind was in charge, but later, when the emotion passed, your logical mind returned, and so did regret. This is a clear example of how unchecked emotion clouds judgment. When we master our emotions, we become capable of responding with clarity even in the heat of conflict or confusion. Emotionally intelligent individuals often make better decisions because they can distinguish between what they feel and what is true. Feelings are valid, but they are not always facts. Mastery means you acknowledge the feeling, but don't automatically act on it. You give yourself space to question it. Why am I feeling this? Is this reaction proportionate to the situation? Am I interpreting this fairly or through the lens of past wounds or fears? This internal dialogue promotes clarity. When you pause to reflect, you're more likely to respond in a way that serves your goals rather than sabotaging them. Whether you're making a personal, professional, or financial decision, emotional mastery allows you to weigh consequences, consider timing, and anticipate outcomes, all without being manipulated by momentary feelings. In high-stakes environments such as business negotiations, emergency situations, or personal crises, this skill becomes invaluable. While others may panic, shut down, or lash out, the emotionally mature individual remains composed. This composure is not emotionless. It is emotion that is understood, processed, and expressed with purpose. It becomes a tool rather than a trap. Better judgment also stems from the ability to consider other perspectives. When we are consumed by our own emotions, we often become self-centered, seeing the world only through our lens. Emotional mastery opens us up. It allows empathy to enter. It helps us understand that our feelings, while real, are not the only reality. This balanced view enhances relationships, reduces conflict, and improves problem solving. Even in creativity and leadership, emotional balance sharpens thinking. A writer, artist, or innovator may draw inspiration from emotion, but too much emotional turmoil can cause burnout and confusion. A leader may care deeply for their team, but if they allow frustration or fear to dominate, they may lose the ability to guide effectively. Emotional mastery doesn't dull passion, it refines it into a powerful, purposeful force. Mastery over emotions also builds consistency, and consistency is the foundation of trust. When people know that you respond with clarity, even under pressure, they are more likely to rely on you. They feel safe in your presence. Your judgment becomes a resource, not a liability. You become someone who can be counted on not just in easy times, but especially in hard ones. It's important to understand that this kind of mastery is developed, not inherited. No one is born emotionally disciplined. It's a skill, refined over time through reflection, mindfulness, experience, and effort. It's built through difficult conversations where you choose calm over chaos, through moments of fear where you choose courage over avoidance, and through setbacks where you choose resilience over despair. Clarity and judgment go hand in hand with emotional neutrality, not indifference, but balance. When you are emotionally stable, you can see through the fog. You can separate fact from fiction, emotion from ego, and impulse from intention. This clarity doesn't just help you, it affects everyone around you. Your decisions become smarter, your actions become aligned, your life becomes more directed. In the end, those who master their emotions don't just think more clearly, they live more wisely. They navigate challenges with grace, handle uncertainty with calm, and respond to life with intention rather than reaction. Clear thinking isn't an accident. It's the result of emotional self-control, of choosing not to be ruled by what you feel in the moment, but by what you know to be true in the bigger picture. Life is unpredictable, No matter how carefully we plan or how cautious we are, unexpected challenges will arise. Disappointments will come, people will hurt us, circumstances will shift, and things will sometimes fall apart. That's the nature of life. What we can't control is often vast other people's behavior, the economy, illness, loss, or rejection. But within that sea of unpredictability, there is one constant anchor, our response. Our response is our power. It is the one thing no person, no situation, no crisis can take from us. Even when everything around us seems to spiral, our ability to choose how we respond remains intact. This truth is not only liberating, it is transformative. It shifts our focus from helplessness to agency. We stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How can I respond in a way that honors who I want to be?" The moment you recognize your power to choose your response, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You become the author of your own experience. This doesn't mean you won't feel hurt, frustrated, or scared. It simply means you won't let those emotions dictate your behavior. You can feel pain and still respond with grace. You can feel fear and still choose courage. You can feel anger and still respond with restraint. Too often, people confuse emotional control with detachment or denial. But true control lies in facing the emotion, acknowledging it, and then consciously choosing a response that aligns with your values, not your impulses. For example, if someone insults you, the automatic response might be to retaliate, but emotional maturity allows you to pause and ask, "Is this worth my peace? Will responding in anger help or harm me?" That pause, that moment of reflection, is where your power lies. It's the gap between stimulus and response. In that space, you can choose dignity over drama, peace over pride, and purpose over ego. This ability to consciously choose your response is a sign of emotional mastery, and it can radically improve your relationships, your reputation, and your personal growth. In challenging situations, this mindset of personal responsibility is what separates those who grow from adversity and those who become consumed by it. While you may not control a breakup, a betrayal, or a business failure, you do control what you do next. Will you let it make you bitter, or will you let it make you better? Will you collapse, or will you rise stronger? That choice is always yours. Even in mundane, everyday moments, our response can shape the energy of an entire day. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Do you shout and carry that anger all morning, or do you breathe, let it go, and protect your peace? A coworker criticizes your idea. Do you get defensive, or do you stay calm and respond with clarity and confidence? These small decisions build your emotional character over time. Choosing your response is not always easy, especially when emotions are intense. But that's what makes it so powerful. Anyone can be calm when life is easy. True strength is shown in how you respond when life is difficult, when people disappoint you, or when your plans fall apart. Emotional control in those moments is not weakness, it's a sign of deep inner strength and personal discipline. It also helps to remember that our response teaches others how to treat us. If we respond to disrespect with more disrespect, the cycle continues. But if we respond with calm boundaries and self-respect, we break the pattern. We show others and ourselves that we are not controlled by what others do, but by who we choose to be. Controlling your response doesn't mean you tolerate bad behavior or accept injustice. It means you handle it strategically and wisely. Instead of reacting in ways that escalate the issue, you respond in ways that assert your worth and protect your peace. You learn when to speak, when to walk away, when to forgive, and when to stand firm. That kind of discernment is powerful. Ultimately, choosing your response is choosing your growth. Every situation becomes a classroom, and every reaction an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Over time, you begin to notice patterns when you tend to react, what triggers you, and what helps you stay grounded. This self-awareness leads to emotional intelligence, which in turn leads to better outcomes in every area of life. So while we may not control the chaos that enters our lives, we always control how we engage with it. Our response is our responsibility and our opportunity. It is the bridge between who we are and who we're becoming. And in that space of choice, we find the freedom to rise above, stay aligned with our values, and shape a life that reflects wisdom, strength, and intention. Difficult times test our strength, character, and endurance. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, the collapse of a relationship, financial hardship, failure, or rejection, life inevitably delivers hardship. It is during these moments that emotional discipline becomes more than just a helpful skill, it becomes a survival tool. Emotional discipline does not eliminate pain, but it gives us the capacity to endure it without falling apart. Resilience isn't about never breaking down, it's about being able to get back up not just once, but again and again. It's about walking through emotional storms without letting them define or destroy us. Emotional discipline is the foundation of that resilience. It allows us to experience pain without letting it consume us, to face loss without losing ourselves, and to confront adversity without becoming bitter or hopeless. When you're emotionally disciplined, you are better able to process challenges in a balanced and grounded way. Instead of spiraling into panic or despair, you acknowledge your feelings, give yourself permission to feel them, and then begin the process of recovery. You don't get stuck in self-pity or denial. You don't lash out or collapse under pressure. You manage your inner world, even as the outer world feels out of control. Emotionally undisciplined people often make their difficult times worse by reacting impulsively. They may isolate themselves, push away loved ones, indulge in unhealthy coping mechanisms, or act out their pain through anger or blame. These reactions offer temporary relief but long-term damage. Emotional discipline offers the opposite. It asks for short-term discomfort, such as sitting with your feelings in exchange for long-term strength. Resilience is about sustainability. Anyone can push through for a day or two. But when hardship stretches on weeks, months, or even years, it's emotional discipline that enables you to keep showing up. It helps you regulate your emotions, conserve your energy, and make thoughtful decisions instead of desperate ones. It helps you keep your values intact when you feel like giving up. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional discipline is that it keeps you focused on what you can control, even when much feels uncontrollable. You can't change a painful past, but you can control how you respond to it in the present. You can't force someone to stay, but you can control your reaction to their absence. This mindset gives you a sense of direction and empowerment, even in powerlessness. Difficult times also come with intense emotional triggers. You may feel anger toward others, disappointment in yourself, or hopelessness about the future. Emotional discipline doesn't mean ignoring these feelings, it means managing them. You don't feed them unnecessarily, but you don't run from them either. You learn to sit with discomfort without letting it dictate your behavior or outlook. This self-control breeds confidence. The more you prove to yourself that you can survive hard emotions without reacting destructively, the more belief you build in your own inner strength. Over time, this belief becomes unshakable. You start to trust yourself not only when things are going well, but especially when things go wrong. That trust is a major component of resilience, knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you won't betray yourself. Emotional discipline also helps you maintain your relationships during tough times. Pain often tempts us to lash out, blame others, or withdraw. But when you're emotionally disciplined, you communicate with clarity, even through tears. You express your needs and boundaries without damaging those you care about. You avoid turning your pain into a weapon. This preserves connection and support, two essential pillars of resilience. Resilience also requires perspective, the ability to zoom out from your pain and see the bigger picture. Emotional discipline trains you to do this. It stops you from drowning in temporary emotions and helps you remember that pain passes, healing is possible, and growth is always available on the other side. This mindset doesn't eliminate suffering, but it does make it more manageable. In a world that often glamorizes instant gratification and emotional indulgence, emotional discipline might seem cold or overly controlled. But in reality, it's one of the most compassionate things you can practice for yourself and for others. It gives you the ability to move through life's valleys with steadiness, to respond with wisdom rather than reaction, and to come out the other side not hardened, but stronger. Ultimately, emotional discipline doesn't protect you from life's difficulties, but it equips you to face them with grace. It helps you rise when life tries to break you. It helps you choose love over anger, patience over panic, and hope over despair. And with every challenge you survive through emotional maturity, your resilience grows deeper and your character becomes stronger. Emotions are a fundamental part of the human experience. They give color to our lives, deepen our connections, and help us understand ourselves. But while emotions are powerful, they are not always accurate. They are signals messengers from within, not commands that must be followed. Emotional intelligence begins with recognizing that your emotions are valid, but not necessarily true or wise in their instruction. When something triggers you emotionally, your body reacts before your mind can process what's really happening. You might feel anger rise, sadness wash over you, or fear grip your chest. These feelings are not random, they're telling you something. Anger might signal a boundary has been crossed. Fear might indicate a threat, real or perceived. Sadness might reveal a loss or a need that's gone unmet. These messages are important, but they are only part of the story. Many people treat emotions like orders rather than information. When they feel hurt, they retaliate. When they feel insecure, they lash out. When they feel anxious, they run. But following emotions blindly leads to chaos. It means allowing a temporary internal state to dictate external actions, often with long-term consequences. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. Imagine getting an angry email from a colleague. Your immediate emotional reaction might be to fire back with a sharp response. But if you pause to question the emotion, why am I angry? What am I assuming? Is this about me or something else? You open space for wisdom. Maybe your anger is valid, but your reaction doesn't have to be destructive. Emotions ask to be heard, not obeyed. Listening to your emotions without surrendering to them requires self-awareness. You must be able to step back and observe your feelings like a curious investigator rather than a captive. This doesn't mean repressing emotion or pretending it's not there. It means letting your logical and emotional selves work together. Emotions give you data. Your reasoning interprets that data in context. For example, jealousy might arise when someone else achieves something you desire. The emotion is telling you something, perhaps that you've neglected your own goals or that you crave recognition. The message is useful, but if you obey jealousy blindly, you might sabotage relationships or sink into bitterness. Emotional maturity means thanking the emotion for the message, then choosing a healthy response. The same principle applies to fear. Fear often whispers that you're not ready, not good enough, or that failure is certain. It wants to protect you from discomfort or disappointment. But if you follow fear without questioning it, you'll miss out on growth, risk, and opportunity. Fear isn't always right, it's just loud. Listening to it with discernment allows you to weigh the risk thoughtfully instead of running from it automatically. Sadness, too, has its voice. It may surface when something meaningful is lost, a relationship, a dream, a part of your identity. Instead of rushing to numb or escape it, sadness invites reflection. What needs healing? What is this pain pointing to? When we listen with compassion, sadness can teach us about our needs, values, and deepest desires. It becomes a teacher, not a trap. Emotional reactions are often exaggerated by past experiences. A small criticism today might trigger old wounds from childhood or past relationships. If you obey the emotion without understanding its roots, you might overreact. But if you pause and trace the feeling back to its source, you gain clarity. Emotional awareness allows you to respond to the present moment, not be hijacked by the past. It's also important to understand that no emotion is inherently bad. Anger isn't evil, fear isn't weakness, sadness isn't failure. All emotions serve a purpose. The goal is not to eliminate them, but to decode them. When you listen to emotions like a wise counselor, not a dictator, you become emotionally intelligent. You stop being ruled by emotion and start being guided by it. The process of listening without obeying takes practice. It means building the mental habit of pausing, reflecting, and asking key questions. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? What does this feeling want me to do, and is that wise? These questions shift your brain out of automatic mode and into intentional thought. They give you the power to choose a response that honors both your heart and your values. Over time, this practice strengthens your inner clarity. Emotions become like signals on a dashboard. You notice them, you investigate them, but you don't let them grab the wheel. You gain distance from the chaos, not because you're cold or detached, but because you've developed emotional strength. You listen to your emotions with respect, but you remain the one in control of your actions. There's a dangerous myth many people carry that strong people don't feel, or at least, don't show their emotions. This belief often leads to suppression, the practice of pushing emotions down, pretending they don't exist, and bottling them up in the name of control or image. But emotional suppression doesn't equal emotional strength. In fact, it's the opposite. When we suppress what we feel, we don't make it go away, we simply bury it deeper, where it festers. Suppressed emotions don't disappear, they linger in the background of our lives. Like pressure building beneath the surface, they eventually find a way to escape, often through unintended or unhealthy means. Repressed anger may erupt unexpectedly in an unrelated argument. Unacknowledged sadness may manifest as chronic fatigue or irritability. Fear that's never faced might disguise itself as procrastination or anxiety. Suppression is not silence, it's emotional tension with no outlet. This internal chaos creates confusion and disconnection. You begin to feel restless, uneasy, or numb without understanding why. It's like emotional static constantly buzzing beneath your awareness. Relationships suffer because others sense something is wrong, even if you insist you're fine. The truth is, emotional suppression creates a wall not just between you and your feelings, but between you and others. Suppressing emotions also weakens self-trust. When you consistently ignore or dismiss what you feel, you signal to yourself that your inner experiences are invalid or dangerous. Over time, this leads to detachment from your instincts, needs, and desires. You stop trusting yourself to feel, to cope, or to communicate authentically. That detachment breeds insecurity, self-doubt, and sometimes even emotional breakdowns. By contrast, emotional management is about facing emotions, naming them, processing them, and releasing them in healthy ways. It's not about being consumed by what you feel, it's about owning your feelings without being owned by them. Managed emotions don't control you, and you don't fear them. They become signals you respect, understand, and learn from, and in this process, you create space for inner peace. Inner peace isn't the absence of emotion, it's the harmony between what you feel and how you respond. It's knowing that your feelings have a place, but they don't run the show. It's having the ability to sit with discomfort without rushing to escape it, and having the wisdom to let go of emotional weight when it no longer serves you. This balance can only come through emotional honesty and self-awareness. Managing emotions starts with acceptance. You must give yourself permission to feel not just the pleasant emotions, but the difficult ones too. Anger, sadness, fear, disappointment, they are all part of the human spectrum. Denying them doesn't make you stronger, it makes you fragmented. Accepting them, on the other hand, brings you closer to wholeness. It integrates your emotional experience into your personal growth. One powerful tool in emotional management is expression, whether through journaling, talking to a trusted friend, creative outlets, or mindfulness practices. Expressing what you feel helps you process it. It turns internal pressure into external clarity. When you voice your emotions, you give them structure, you make them less overwhelming and more understandable. You move from confusion to comprehension. Reflection is equally important. Not every emotional wave needs to be acted on, but every emotion can teach you something. Why did I feel so angry in that situation? What part of me felt threatened? What am I really afraid of? These questions create insight, and insight turns emotion from chaos into wisdom. When you understand your triggers and emotional patterns, you gain more power over your inner world. Another key to managing emotions is creating rituals of release. Emotions are energy, and energy needs movement. Exercise, nature walks, breathing techniques, and meditation are not just habits of calm. They are emotional release valves. They help clear out the emotional residue of stressful days, intense conversations, or personal disappointments. Over time, these small acts prevent emotional buildup and promote mental clarity. By choosing emotional management over suppression, you also improve your relationships. People can sense when you are emotionally honest, even if you're still working through things. Vulnerability, when expressed maturely, creates connection and trust. When you manage your emotions, you're less likely to project them onto others, lash out, or shut down. Instead, you communicate with empathy and clarity, and others feel safe around you. Ultimately, the path to peace is not paved by ignoring emotions, but by understanding them. When you manage your feelings, you begin to create an inner environment of stability. You're no longer tossed by every emotional wave. You develop emotional resilience and presence. Life still throws challenges your way, but instead of inner chaos, you have clarity. Instead of breakdown, you build peace from the inside out. Mindfulness is the practice of paying deliberate attention to the present moment with openness and curiosity. When it comes to emotions, mindfulness offers a powerful tool to observe feelings as they arise, without immediately reacting or becoming swept away by them. This skill allows us to create distance between our emotional experience and our response, which is crucial for emotional control. Without mindfulness, emotions can feel like tidal waves, crashing over us with such force that it's difficult to stay afloat. We get caught in the storm, losing sight of ourselves in the process. Fear, anger, sadness, or anxiety may overwhelm our thoughts and bodies, making rational thinking nearly impossible. Mindfulness, however, invites us to become calm witnesses to these waves rather than being carried away by them. At the core of mindfulness is the idea that emotions are temporary phenomena. They come, they linger, and then they pass. This awareness helps reduce the intensity of difficult emotions, because we begin to see them as passing visitors rather than permanent states. Recognizing this transient nature creates hope and relief, knowing that no feeling, no matter how powerful, lasts forever. By observing emotions mindfully, you cultivate what psychologists call emotional granularity, the ability to notice subtle differences in your emotional experience. Instead of lumping everything together as just anger or sadness, you might notice that what you're feeling is closer to frustration, disappointment, or resentment. This precision allows you to address your feelings more effectively because you understand them better. Mindfulness also helps break the cycle of automatic reactions. When a strong emotion arises, the typical response might be to act impulsively, shouting in anger, withdrawing in fear, or overeating in sadness. But with mindfulness, you learn to create a pause. That pause is the space where choice enters. Instead of reacting on autopilot, you choose how to respond, which is a key part of emotional mastery. This practice requires patience and gentle self-compassion. Many people expect mindfulness to immediately calm their emotions, but sometimes becoming aware of emotions intensifies them initially. That's natural because you're no longer pushing feelings away. However, staying present with the emotion without judgment gradually reduces its power. You learn that you can be with difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Another benefit of mindfulness is how it improves self-awareness. As you observe your emotions closely, patterns begin to emerge. You may realize that certain situations, people, or thoughts consistently trigger intense feelings. With this insight, you can prepare yourself better or even avoid unnecessary triggers when possible. Awareness is the foundation for making informed choices about your emotional life. Mindfulness also enhances your ability to regulate emotions in the moment. When you notice anxiety rising, a mindful breath or grounding exercise can bring your attention back to the present and calm the nervous system. When anger flares, mindfulness helps you recognize the physical sensations and mental spirals, giving you the chance to cool down before responding. This real time regulation fosters resilience. Practicing mindfulness regularly builds emotional endurance. Over time, you become less reactive and more composed, even in stressful or emotionally charged situations. This doesn't mean you suppress emotions, but rather that you meet them with equanimity. You become like a calm lake, reflecting the stormy sky above, aware of the turbulence, but not disturbed by it. Mindfulness also deepens your connection to yourself and others. When you're more attuned to your own emotions, you develop empathy for what others might be feeling. This understanding can improve communication, reduce conflict, and foster deeper relationships. By managing your emotions mindfully, you create space for kindness, patience, and compassion for yourself and those around you. Finally, mindfulness is a lifelong practice that invites continuous learning. It asks you to be curious about your inner world without rushing to change or fix it. Through mindful observation, you discover that emotions are not enemies to be fought, but messengers to be heard. You gain the freedom to experience your feelings fully without losing your balance or control. Emotional awareness is the ability to recognize and understand your own emotions as they arise. It's the first and most crucial step toward emotional control, because you cannot manage what you don't see. Without awareness, emotions remain mysterious and overwhelming forces that seem to come out of nowhere. But when you cultivate emotional awareness, you begin to uncover patterns, triggers, and the subtle signals your body and mind give before an emotion fully emerges. Triggers are the situations, people, thoughts, or memories that ignite certain emotional responses within you. They can be obvious or hidden, external or internal. For example, a harsh comment from a colleague may trigger feelings of anger or insecurity. Alternatively, a vague memory of past rejection might trigger anxiety before you even realize why you're uneasy. Emotional awareness helps you identify these triggers before they escalate into full-blown reactions. When you know your triggers, you gain the power to choose how to respond rather than being swept away by automatic reactions. Many emotional outbursts happen because the brain reacts impulsively to triggers, especially if those triggers are linked to unresolved past pain. Awareness interrupts this process. You see the trigger, recognize your emotional reaction, and can pause to decide whether and how to engage with the feeling. Building emotional awareness requires tuning into your body's signals. Emotions often manifest physically before they show up as conscious thoughts. You might notice tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or tension in your shoulders as an early sign of rising stress or anger. These bodily sensations act as early warning systems. The more sensitive you become to them, the earlier you can intervene before emotions spiral out of control. Journaling can be a useful tool for developing emotional awareness. Writing down your feelings, the situations that provoke them, and your reactions can reveal recurring themes and trigger points. Over time, this process helps you connect dots between events and emotional responses, making your emotional world less confusing and more navigable. It also provides a safe space to explore feelings that might be difficult to express verbally. Meditation and mindfulness practices are also effective in enhancing emotional awareness. By slowing down and observing your inner experiences without judgment, you learn to notice emotions as they arise and fade. This regular practice creates a habit of checking in with yourself throughout the day, allowing you to catch emotions early rather than being blindsided by them. Once you identify your triggers, you can begin to question and reframe your responses. For instance, if criticism triggers defensiveness, emotional awareness lets you pause and ask, is this criticism fair? How can I respond constructively? Instead of reacting with anger or withdrawal, you choose a calmer, more intentional path. This shift not only reduces conflict but also strengthens your relationships and self-esteem. Emotional awareness also helps break harmful cycles. Many of us get stuck in repetitive patterns, reacting the same way to similar situations, often unconsciously. Recognizing these cycles is the first step to changing them. For example, you might notice that feeling rejected leads you to isolate yourself, which then increases loneliness and sadness. With awareness, you can interrupt this pattern by reaching out or practicing self-compassion. Developing emotional awareness enhances your emotional vocabulary as well. Naming your emotions, accurately differentiating between frustration, disappointment, sadness, or anxiety helps you understand what you're truly feeling. This clarity is empowering. When you can precisely identify your emotions, you're better equipped to communicate your needs to others and seek appropriate support. Another important aspect is recognizing the role of past experiences in shaping your emotional triggers. Often, unresolved trauma or early life conditioning colors how we respond today. Emotional awareness invites you to explore these connections with curiosity rather than judgment. This deeper understanding fosters healing and reduces the unconscious power of triggers. Emotional awareness also improves decision making. Emotions contain valuable information, but without awareness, they can cloud judgment. When you become mindful of your emotional states, you can balance emotional input with logical analysis. This balance leads to wiser choices that honor both your feelings and your long-term goals. Ultimately, building emotional awareness is a journey toward greater self-mastery. It transforms emotions from unpredictable storms into navigable currents. It gives you the ability to respond with intention, adapt to challenges gracefully, and live with greater authenticity and freedom. As your awareness grows, so does your power to shape your emotional life rather than being shaped by it. Emotions are natural and necessary, but they come with energy that needs to be expressed and released. When emotions are bottled up without a proper outlet, they tend to build pressure inside us. Without a healthy way to discharge this emotional energy, it can manifest as destructive behaviors such as aggression, substance abuse, overeating, or self-isolation. Developing healthy outlets is essential to maintain emotional balance and overall well-being. One of the most effective outlets for emotions is physical activity. Exercise helps convert emotional energy into movement, which can alleviate tension and stress. When you engage in activities like running, dancing, yoga, or even walking, your body releases endorphins, natural mood elevators that help regulate emotions. Physical movement not only calms your nervous system, but also provides a constructive channel to express frustration, anger, or anxiety. Creative expression is another valuable outlet. Activities such as painting, writing, playing music, or crafting allow you to externalize your feelings in a way that words sometimes cannot capture. When you put your emotions into a creative form, you give them shape and meaning. This process can be profoundly therapeutic, helping you process complex emotions and gain new perspectives on your experiences. Talking to trusted friends, family members, or therapists also serves as a healthy emotional outlet. Verbalizing what you feel reduces emotional burden and fosters connection. Sharing your emotions with someone who listens without judgment helps you feel understood and supported. This social support can prevent feelings of isolation and overwhelm, which often lead to unhealthy coping strategies. Mindfulness and meditation can serve as outlets by helping you regulate emotions internally. While these practices don't externalize emotion, they provide tools to observe, accept, and release feelings without becoming overwhelmed. Techniques such as focused breathing or body scans calm the nervous system and reduce emotional reactivity, allowing for a healthier internal flow of emotions. Journaling is a simple yet powerful outlet that lets you explore your emotional landscape in private. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can clarify what you're experiencing and provide relief from mental clutter. It allows you to track emotional patterns over time and reflect on your growth. Journaling can serve as both an emotional release and a way to solve feelings constructively. Nature can be a restorative outlet as well. Spending time outdoors, whether hiking, gardening, or simply sitting in a park, connects you with something larger than yourself. Nature's rhythms and beauty often soothe emotional turmoil and provide perspective. The sensory experience of fresh air, sunlight, and natural sounds helps calm the mind and recharge your emotional resilience. Setting boundaries is a crucial outlet that prevents emotional overwhelm. Saying no to demands that drain your energy protects your emotional reserves. When you respect your limits and communicate them clearly, you avoid the buildup of resentment and stress that can lead to explosive reactions. Healthy boundaries create space for emotional self-care. Engaging in hobbies and activities that bring joy also provides a positive outlet. Doing things you love replenishes your emotional well-being and shifts focus away from stressors. Whether it's cooking, reading, volunteering, or playing sports, enjoyable activities help regulate mood and balance emotional highs and lows. Breathing exercises and relaxation techniques act as immediate outlets for managing sudden surges of intense emotion. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or guided imagery calm your nervous system quickly, preventing emotions from escalating. These tools empower you to regain control in moments of distress, reducing the risk of impulsive or harmful behaviors. It's important to recognize that not all outlets are equally healthy. Some people turn to substances, overeating, or risky behaviors to numb or distract from emotions. While these might provide temporary relief, they ultimately worsen emotional health and create new problems. Developing awareness about these tendencies is a first step toward replacing them with positive alternatives. Consistently practicing healthy outlets builds emotional resilience over time. It becomes easier to navigate life's ups and downs without being overwhelmed. You develop habits that support emotional expression and release, preventing the pressure from accumulating and bursting out destructively. This ongoing commitment to emotional care is key to maintaining balance and living a fulfilling life. One of the most misunderstood aspects of emotional control is the belief that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Society often praises independence and self-reliance, but true strength lies in knowing your limits and reaching out when you need support. Seeking help is not about surrendering control. It's about empowering yourself to manage emotions more effectively with the right resources. Recognizing when you need support requires self-awareness. Sometimes emotions become too heavy or complex to handle alone. You might experience prolonged sadness, anxiety, or anger that interferes with daily life. At these moments, trying to tough it out can lead to burnout, emotional breakdown, or harmful behaviors. Admitting you need help is a courageous acknowledgement that you want to improve and grow. Support can come in many forms. It may be talking to a close friend or family member who listens without judgment. Sometimes just having someone acknowledge your feelings can lighten the emotional load. Human connection validates your experience and reminds you that you are not alone in your struggles. This sense of belonging itself can be healing. Professional support is another vital avenue. Therapists, counselors, and coaches provide trained guidance tailored to your unique emotional challenges. They offer tools and perspectives that you might not access on your own. Seeking professional help shows a commitment to your emotional health and personal development, which is one of the strongest acts of self-care you can make. Support groups are yet another powerful option. Being part of a community where people share similar emotional experiences helps normalize what you're going through. It breaks down stigma and isolation by creating a safe space for vulnerability. The collective wisdom and empathy found in such groups provide strength and hope. Seeking support also teaches you to trust others. When you open up about your emotions, you create intimacy and deepen relationships. This vulnerability builds authentic connections that nourish your emotional well-being. It's a reminder that humans are social beings designed to thrive in community, not in isolation. Asking for help is a proactive step, not a last resort. Waiting until emotions become unbearable can make recovery harder. Reaching out early prevents emotional issues from escalating and helps maintain balance. It's like tuning a musical instrument regularly rather than waiting for it to break small. Consistent support keeps your emotional life in harmony. It's important to challenge the stigma around mental health and emotional struggles. Many people feel ashamed or embarrassed to seek support because they fear being judged or misunderstood. Recognizing that everyone faces emotional challenges at times and that seeking help is normal can shift this mindset. Strength is about honesty with yourself and others, not perfection. When you seek support, you also model healthy emotional behavior for those around you. Whether it's children, friends, or coworkers, Showing that it's okay to ask for help encourages others to do the same. This ripple effect creates a culture where emotional well-being is valued and nurtured, reducing shame and isolation on a broader scale. Support doesn't mean you relinquish responsibility for your emotions. Instead, it complements your efforts by providing encouragement, insight, and tools. It's a collaborative process where you remain an active participant. You gain new strategies to manage feelings, cope with stress, and build resilience, making your emotional journey more sustainable. Sometimes, seeking support involves learning new skills like communication, boundary setting, or stress management. These skills empower you to handle future emotional challenges more independently. Support is both a safety net and a launch pad for greater self-efficacy, helping you grow stronger over time. Ultimately, seeking support is an act of self-love. It honors your worth and your right to live a balanced, healthy emotional life. It's a statement that you value yourself enough to invest time and effort into your well-being. This mindset shift, from viewing help as weakness to seeing it as strength, can transform your entire approach to emotions and life. In conclusion, controlling your emotions is not about denying how you feel or pretending everything is fine. It's about developing a deep awareness of your inner world and learning to respond with intention, wisdom, and compassion. When you take charge of your emotions, you reclaim your power, power to shape your thoughts, your actions, and ultimately your destiny. Remember, emotions are not obstacles to avoid. They are signals guiding you toward greater self, understanding, and growth. By practicing mindfulness, building awareness, expressing yourself healthily, and seeking support when needed, you build resilience and create a foundation for a more peaceful, balanced, and fulfilling life. Life will always present challenges and unexpected twists, but with emotional mastery, you become the calm at the center of the storm. You gain the freedom to choose your path, the strength to face adversity, and the grace to cultivate joy in every moment. Control your emotions, and you truly control your life. Thank you